Today I'm going to cover how to fit a Marlin Fiberforce Model 60 stock to a Model 795 or 70P or 70PSS Marlin rifle. This stock is produced for the Marlin 60. It fits that model with very little modifications. To fit either of those other three models, you have to let out the stock and remove some material. So I'll cover that today. This is a Model 795 trigger guard. You can see that it's quite a bit longer in here than the Model 60. We're also going to have to do a bunch of cutting on the forearm of this stock. We need to identify the area we have to remove and relieve in this area. ATI on the box for this stock says that some fitting will be required. You can see this trigger guard channel is actually slightly too narrow for this trigger guard. I'm going to just drop a bolt. This is just a scrap bolt out of the hardware chest. I'll drop another scrap bolt through the back. It's just a number 2 lead pencil because it marks perfectly fine on the synthetic here. There we go. The idea here is we're going to relieve everything through this area to this depth. To do this removal, you got a couple options. You can use a wood router. You could use a Dremel bit if you got a real steady hand. I'm going to use a drill press with one of these Dremel 115 high-speed rotary cutters. It's a flathead, just like an end mill would kind of be like. Should be able to come right through at this level and just zip this right out of here. The other option you've got is a Dremel 654 router bit. It'll chew through this just like an oak. So you can either go high, just lift it straight off so this isn't touching, or you can try to level it completely off. This is just a 1/4 inch piece of backer. And all I'm going to do is tape this sucker right onto the stock with some blue painter's tape. Painter's tape's great, rips right off. It's not going to leave a big sticky mess on your stock that you later have to clean off before you can paint it or do whatever else you want to do with it. Just laying right on the drill press table, and I brought the table up until the router bit head just touches this flat we want to use as our measurement across the board here. Don't forget your dorky safety goggles. Bring the table down and clear this out. You can see we maintain that flat, and look at that. That gives us this one little dinky flap out of the mag well, and that's what it looks like when you're done. Alright, so we've got this front section relieved and the mag well cut out on this stock now. Fit the back half pretty much of the trigger guard plate. Slide it in the channel and see where it binds. Right there. Take a standard woodworking file, or in this case this is a jewelry file. Flip it over, do both sides a little bit. Come back, trigger guard, see if it fits. If it doesn't, try it again. Key here is slow and steady. Alright, I've still got quite a bit of tightness past the safety point. You can actually see where it kind of curves in there. It's right where it's binding up. Fortunately, this guy's way too big to get in there decently. And use one of these half-round needle files and just come down in here and take that off with the needle file. 10 minutes of needle filings later, it slid in there pretty crisply. You can see how it fits in here. We've still got a couple areas that we have to do relief work on. Right here, that's for the model 795-70 PSS mag release bar. That needs to come out. The other spot is we've got a little bit of stick through here on the bolt release lever. You can do that with just a needle file like this, a flat one. That'll give you a nice straight corner in there. On the model 795 and 70 PSSs, the bottom of the stock is a completely flat bed. With the Fiberforce, what we have is actually a drop away. It's real gradual, but it's actually dropping away, and that's going to leave you a little bit of stick out right here at the very tip. What you want to do is throw this back in the drill and take just 1 millimeter off the floor throughout this area, and then take a file or a piece of sandpaper and just curve down the end of the trigger guard there, and that'll give you that profile on it, which is not perfect, but it looks pretty good, and you can throw it right back in the original stock and nobody's probably going to notice that tiny bit of sanding you did on it. For the guys with the 795s, you're done. The 70P and PSSs, we got a couple more steps to do yet to finish this stock out. Action goes together like this, and it sits in here, and that's where it comes up to with the original 70P stock. It ends right there. So we want to make a cut right behind this first riser and in between this piece. It's a nice little spot for you. Mark it with a pencil and make the cut with either a bandsaw, which I'm going to use, or a hacksaw blade. Just try to do it as straight down as you can, and then we'll do a little bit of reprofiling here with a file and some sandpaper. Right where this chunk of material is. As the stock drops away, throughout this section, they've maintained a flat in here, so this is actually one of the thickest points in this entire stock bed. And that cut came in right in front of this slightly wider chunk. Right between that one. It's going to come down in there, and if you got it cut right, it should be completely flush with the end of it. On this Fiberforce stock, we need to relieve this area to allow room for the barrel nut. To do this removal, I'm going to use a high-speed cutter on the lowest setting, and I'm just going to freehand it. All I'm doing is removing this little tiny bit of material from both sides of this support bumper there. Alright, the last thing we've got to do is mount a sling swivel stud. You can see the depth there. This is 12 millimeter. That's 11 millimeter. So you can mount this in there either way you want. I will mount mine vertically and then just countersink it so it sits flat in there about a millimeter. The quick way to make sure you don't over drill this is to, you know how thick it is, it's 12 millimeters, so mark it at 6 with a blue line or whatever, then you know exactly how deep the bit is. Filling this front gap up a little bit, I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy putty and then sand it to match the front and then give it a custom paint job.